You guys are having a good day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I'm also broadcasting on the Black Boss Channel. The Black Boss Channel is a platform we created for Black men because we know Black men need a voice. You hear Vicky Dillard and Jade Arendelle and the ladies on Fly Nubian Queen, where Black women have their voice, but actually we need spaces where brothers can talk about all the things that matter for us. And one of my favorite Black men in terms of the guys that I just see in a true leadership capacity is Toure. Now, Maj is joining us now. Rizza Islam is on his way, from what I've heard. And when Rizza comes in, we're going to talk to him. But I tell you what, Maj is a guy that carries the stage on his own for sure. He's very, very smart. He's the founder of Black Guns Matter and just does a lot of activism in the community. So give this brother a welcome. And I'd like to ask my brother today, how you doing today, man?
I'm wonderful, Doc. I appreciate you for having me and us later. I'm feeling good. It's getting warm in Philly. We don't really get warm till like May or June, so it's getting warm. People are getting, even if they were nervous, they're getting over that whole mask thing. So you're seeing people out and about, which is always a good thing. So freedom is always good.
I think it is too. And let's start there. Actually, first of all, everybody who comes in, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe, and make sure you subscribe to the Black Boss Channel. If you support Black men or if you are a Black man, then you need to be there. This is where solutions are presented. This is where smart Black people gather. And it's a platform that, Jeff Lightsey Jr., a lot of other great people on there. So let me ask you this, man. Let's start with the word freedom. Freedom. We use the word freedom a lot, and I see Rizza's in there, so I'm gonna let Rizza in it while you answer this question. What does freedom mean to you? Tell me what, if I say what is freedom, what would you say?
Freedom is the ability for a person to do a thing, whatever they choose, without being infringed by somebody else, whether that's their movement, as long as what they're choosing to do does not infringe on someone else's physical body, which is your highest property, or your, personal or private property. So if I want to go somewhere and be there for as long as I want to, I have the right to move about freely without, obstruction. And as long as I'm doing that and it does not infringe on or, step on the toes of somebody else's body or their stuff, then that's what freedom is to me. And clearly under that definition, we ain't there right now. People telling us, what we got to like put on our face and like in our body, you know what I'm saying? So that's what freedom is to me.
All right. And speaking of freedom, another free brother that we have the wonderful privilege of speaking with today is Mr. Rizza Islam. How you doing today, man?
My brother, Dr. Boyce, I'm wonderful. Thank Allah. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great. It's great to see you again. Last time I saw you was down in Atlanta, and we were at Tariq Nasheed's event, and you did a great job, man. It was my first time meeting you in person. I'd seen you online. And I want to tell everybody, when you meet the brother in person, he has an extraordinary presence. He presents himself as a leader. He's super intelligent. And I talked to Alicia. I said, okay, I like this guy. I hadn't met you. I'd seen you. I liked you in theory, but I said now I like him in practice. I had a chance to meet him in practice. So Mr. Islam, Rizza, let's start there, man. Let's start with something that was really on my head recently. With this thing with you and social media, man. I saw where they had given you a hard time about, some of the things you were posting. What's the status of that? And tell us what was going on with that whole thing with Twitter.
Well, the first thing, of course, I'm honored to be on. First of all, again, brother, it's with both of you, dynamic brothers. That's the first thing. Second thing is we are at war in every way possible, especially now when it comes to information. So we have to be very mindful that it's not us posting the way it used to be when it comes to just about religion or about whatever philosophy or ideology we believe in. It is specific things that you cannot talk about. It is keywords in politics, keywords in pharmaceutical nature or areas of medicine, particularly those two right now. So the issue is your brother has been exposing the agenda when it comes to vaccines for a very long time. And that is something that has kind of got your brother caught up. So they have lumped me in a group of 12 people who they say has roughly 70% of the influence when it comes to vaccine. They say disinformation, and they say we have an estimated 60 million people worth of influence all over the internet. And so they refer to us as the disinformation dozen. This is what they what they called us. So Congress roughly 3 weeks ago met and had Jack Dorsey over Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg over Facebook, a representative from Google, and of course Instagram, and they handed them this list and they said, we need you to get these 12 people off of your platforms. And Brother Rizza Islam is one of those people. And it's primarily because of the information that I've been exposing for roughly 6.5, 7 years, dealing with vaccines and not just exposing it, but being involved in the political sector of educating politicians, getting laws passed or preventing them from getting passed that protects the rights of children and adults and families, and a host of other things. So Minister Farrakhan exposed it because we brought it to him. And from that point on, they said, okay, this little Negro is on our radar. I'm going to be watching him. And that's exactly what did the trick.
Sorry, guys. I muted myself. There's nothing little about Rizza Islam. He's certainly not a Negro. And I'll tell you what, it definitely got my attention because I think it's wrong. And Maj, I'd like for you to kind of chime in on that. I've always had an issue with this idea that somehow if we suppress certain viewpoints or the social media giants and tech companies, which I think have too much power, they seem to have gained this right or this inherent entitlement when it comes to deciding what information we should have, what we should think, whether or not we should be liberal or conservative or anything in between. And it's getting kind of ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that, Mosh?
So one, the concept of how social media became to be such a juggernaut is because of things like Section 230. Section 230 initially was created as a protective measure for, let's say, if I'm Twitter, right, and we say something rude about a business, right? They wanted to make sure that Twitter, or what they said their initial, operating in good faith was, we want to protect people from being frivolously sued because Maj said something bad or somebody said something bad about a business on Twitter. It would protect, one half of Section 230 at least. It would protect Twitter from being sued from something that somebody else said on their platform. Now, if you operate in good faith, I understand that. Listen, people have the ability to disagree with your business. That's how Yelp is pretty much people just telling, right? And so the other half of Section 230 was, listen, if we as this social media platform or whatever platform, I'm just saying social media, if we see something that's unlawful, something that is damaging or derogatory towards children, so forth and so on, we have the right to remove that without being sued from the person that we removed. Now, that's great if it's really in good faith. If it's really in good faith and you're actually trying to protect people, so forth and so on. That is not the protection that Section 230 is being held up under now. What's happening now is Twitter, social media are, to Brother Islam's point, silencing certain voices about information and then saying, oh, this is to make everybody safer. So basically, big tech has gotten with government. Government is a protection racket. That's all it is. It doesn't, produce anything. It takes your money, right? They just basically said, we'll allow you to grow, hide behind these protection racket, if you remove dissenting opinions, because big tech is not limited the same way by the First Amendment as the government is. So now you have this scenario where big tech can have this, hey, we're just trying to keep people safe. We don't want the disinformation 12 to influence 60 million people about something that, Ronald Reagan did in the 80s in regards to making these vaccine companies not have liability just the same, So that's what's happening. I am clear. Listen, I'm a freedom person. If you, with the information that's available on your, sweatshop phone, if you choose to want to put this in your body, go ahead. I believe that most of you people aren't really very focused. You don't work very hard. And if you're that silly that you want to put that in your body, I respect your wish to do so. And whatever happens to you is what happens to you. However, when it turns into you got all of these HBCUs now, all of a sudden, you got to have the vaccination exemption form. It's looking real, where's your papers ish? You know what I'm saying? And so my issue is, cool, if somebody want to do it, let them do it. The data's clear. It's been a year. You guys said 2 weeks to slow the spread. It's been a year at this point. On top of it being a year at this point, Y'all seem to conveniently want to leave out. There's been over 20 some odd million recoveries from this thing that you're calling COVID-19. You're leaving that part of the conversation or the statistic out. So you're telling a half truth. You don't have liability. The government is using social media or big tech to do that. And it's clear as day is the clown vibe. And I just think that being a freedom over everything person, if you want to be a clown and put that in your body, you have the right to do that, right? If you think it's safe. Listen, I'm not one of those people that thinks all modern medicine is horrible, but I also read medical apartheid, and I know that exists. So to me, it's just government operating through big tech as their shield, and then vice versa. Big tech is using Section 230, no longer in good faith, to silence voices for the pharmaceutical industry that we already know they have a very symbiotic relationship. So, if you try to make me get a vaccine on my children, I'm gonna say no. And if it get ugly, I'm gonna shoot the shit out of you. That's just what it is for me and mine. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Toure and also Rizza Islam, and we're talking about a lot of things. These guys are so smart. I'm gonna let them kind of take the conversation where they want to go. And so do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button right now. Hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. Remember that you're listening to two guys who are very, very, very strong and knowledgeable Black leaders. And also today I'm speaking with another guy who's a great leader in the hip hop space in his 30s, D1, the rapper who everybody should know about. If you don't know D1, you got to go look him up. So let me ask you this, Rizza. What Maj is talking about in terms of HBCUs, for example, being used to promote certain ideas amongst the Black community, right? We know the playbook, most of it anyway, right? We want Black folks to vote for somebody, buy something, take a shot, do what the government says. We go to the pastors, we go to the celebrities, we go to the HBCU presidents, etc., right? And some of these propped up community activists. What are your thoughts on that? Can you kind of give us what you've observed in terms of the game that's played? When I look at leadership, I look at guys like you. I look at freedom, right? Freedom, can't argue with freedom. Like Maj talks about freedom, and even if his definition of freedom differs from our definition of freedom, we can still agree because we all just want to be free, right? Maj says do whatever you want. But then you've got leaders that say, well, I want you to be free by doing what I tell you to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you to do something somebody told me to tell you to do, which obviously is the opposite of freedom. So Rizza, give me your thoughts on this, just in terms of how we are duped into falling behind false leadership and how the playbook kind of works in terms of controlling the minds of Black people.
Interesting thing about this, brother, is they utilized our heartstring. They utilized what it is that we love, who we look up to, and they have co-opted them. They have taken them over completely, not just mentally, but of course financially, agriculturally, in every way possible. When it comes to this situation with the HBCUs, they've gotten the churches. I'd say they started snatching them up about 7 to 8 months ago. Number one, going to the churches, offering to pay the churches or donate to the church when it comes to promoting the idea that these vaccines are safe and effective when they get rolled out. They were going to churches a long time ago in the early to mid 2020 area. And I was talking about it back then, that they've done this time and time again, but this time it was the worst that's ever been, meaning they promoted more to churches than they have ever done. It's similar to how Margaret Sanger taught them to do back then in the early 1900s, when it comes to promoting to the people the idea that getting rid of your own child is advantageous for your people, that aborting your child and killing your baby is somehow more beneficial for us as a nation of people. They are doing the same exact thing now, using Black faces, just as Margaret Sanger said to do. We do not want word to get out that we are trying to exterminate Black people. We must use the preacher because they are charismatic to gain the attention of Black people. Same exact way today. And they are literally in churches. I heard one pastor say this online. This man opened his mouth and he said, I believe in God. I love Jesus. But I also know that God has brought certain people as angels during our time of need. And then he starts talking about how the vaccines are the angel and the vaccines are the solution. I said, okay, all right. If you don't look in the part of the Bible where you see the word pharmakia, in the Bible, the word pharmakia, which means sorcery and or witchcraft. Pharmakia is Greek for the word that we use today known as pharmaceutical. Pharmaceutical translates to pharmakia, which translates to sorcery, witchcraft, and or casting spells, etc. So when you're dealing with the pharmaceutical industry, you're dealing with the industry that is casting sorcery, witchcraft, spells, etc. Not everyone working for the pharmaceutical industry is evil. Not every employee, not every human being. No, but the industry itself in how it operates is in essence evil, which is why they produce things that continue to produce more negative outcomes, or what they refer to as side effects, which are direct effects. And that is what we're looking at and what is not talked about. But they're using the HBCUs, they're using the church pastors, which, by the way, our generation is not really listening to these pastors. This is why the attendance at church is so low. This is why the attendance at different masjids is so low. Even at the Jewish synagogues for the younger Jewish folk is very low, because this generation is waking up very fast. We have the ability to learn anything at the press of a button, and we're seeing things that don't make any damn sense. So our religious leaders have sold us out. Our political leaders, if we really have any of those, for the most part, have already sold out once they even became or were running for the political office. So by utilizing the religious factor and the political factor, people are being indirectly coerced, as they're saying now, in order for you to go back to school. I believe it's Spelman is one of them, a number of different HBCUs. They are telling them, in order for you to come back onto physical campus, you must take an experimental biological gene therapy. The reason why I say that, let's prove that fact. The emergency use authorization, which is what Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca are under, emergency use authorization is not FDA approval. FDA approval means it has gone through the entire rigorous testing, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, etc., to determine that it is safe and effective per their standards, which is not entirely safe and effective. But an emergency use authorization means during a declared pandemic, we can allow this concoction to be given to the public even while it is under experimentation or experimental use. So emergency use authorization is literally giving the masses of your citizens something that is medically, chemically, literally experimental, but in an effort to potentially help the masses. So we'll potentially kill a few and save many. This is what we're dealing with now. So anyone who says, well, where's the research? You are the research. Anyone who asks for, well, what is the science? You are the science. Anyone who asks for, well, the experimental statistics, what are the trial data? You are the trial. You are the experiment. And the other side of this is none of the pastors, none of the political leaders, none of the students, none of the people are being told about the other side of this, which is, one, it is experimental. Two, it is as Brother Maj said, it is held with no liability under the PrEP Act, number 1, for specifically Pfizer and Moderna, and under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986, by which none of the pharmaceutical companies can be held with liability. So if you get harmed, if you die from taking these experimental shots, you cannot sue anybody. If I heard my pastor, if I heard my political leader, if I heard anyone tell me take this shot, knowing that I can't sue you in the case that it harms me, why in good conscience could I even promote something like that to you? You can sue a doctor if he harms you during surgery. Hell, you could sue a mechanic for messing up your car. But if you inject me with something, I can't sue you for harming me when you know that this is experimental. Brother, we really have to stop going with just people that we like and the personality of who it is. And we have to start looking at what they are saying, see it for ourselves, learn it for ourselves, and then use our own mind. I'm not saying to have distrust in legitimate leadership, because we have plenty of brothers, plenty of sisters who have a track record of having good leadership qualities and having good sound judgment. But I'm saying don't just listen to us because you like who we are, because you like how we look, because you like how we talk, our swag, whatever. Don't, not even Brother Rizza Islam, don't. Right. Look at what we're saying, research what we're saying, and then base our leadership quality off of our ability to communicate actual sound judgment, good data, reference material, and real information that helps you. Because right now, brother, a lot of people, believe it or not, specifically in this generation, are not going for it. And that's the other part that they're not talking about. The last point I'm going to bring up is the roll up your sleeve circumstance that happened on NBC, where Sierra, Russell Wilson, Shaq, Charles Barkley, Matthew McConaughey, J-Lo, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama were all on national television 3 days ago, where they were promoting that America should roll up your sleeves and get vaccinated. This was the promo. That's what it was for. They didn't make any, they didn't lie about it. Say, hey, this is what we're doing. We are encouraging you to get vaccinated. Again, you cannot classify an experimental biological agent, which it literally is referenced as that. Or if you go on the Moderna website for the Moderna COVID shot, it is listed as technology, as the actual description of it. You cannot tell people to be vaccinated with something that is not legally classified as a vaccine. They're not vaccines. Right. So you can't say roll up and get vaccinated. These are not vaccines. These are experimental genetic therapy. So they told the whole nation to do this, knowing you can't sue, knowing these are experimental, knowing, well, rather not knowing that there are over 3,000 deaths and over 36,000 adverse reactions connected directly to these experimental shots, specifically COVID shots, as referenced by the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, also known as the VAERS system, a joint reporting system between the CDC and the FDA that is absolutely verified. They need to study that so you're telling people to take death. We done already passed the Tuskegee mode, brother. Tuskegee has 600 participants. We have over 200 million who already got the shot and over, as I said, 3,000 who have died already. So this is where we are right now. And anyone who's in leadership has to research everything before you promote it, especially promoting it to Black people.
Right. All right. Everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Rizza Islam and Maj Toure, and we're talking about all kinds of stuff, all kinds of areas of Blackness. If you support Black media, and believe me, we will need your support because we've already had Maj say he would shoot the shit out of you. And Rizza is throwing out all the keywords that I know is going to send all the little YouTube to my channel. But I'm gonna stand with my brothers. I'm never walking away from my brothers. But we really need y'all support. We need y'all to have our back because it's real. It's real. They really do go after people's platforms when they talk about this stuff. And so do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Please do that. Also, we got some free stuff, free resources for you at allblackeconomics.com. Copy my book is there as well as some other stuff. So you can go to allblackeconomics.com. I'm also going to encourage you to follow these brothers on social media because that is a part of Black media, and we need your help on that. Now, let me show something. Now, as Rizza was speaking, I just as a case in point, I was looking online at this Roll Up Your Sleeves initiative and what he mentioned about the different universities requiring you to get vaccinated, things like that. And let me just show you this. Well, Essence actually, apparently somebody paid Essence to make a list of Black public figures who said yes to the government shot. And here you have some of your favorite Black folks, some of your favorite Negroes. You got Michelle Obama here. You got Kamala Harris. Let's see, Hank Aaron, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Samuel L. Jackson, Al Roker. I don't know his brother's Damon Kimes. It says he's one of many healthcare professionals using their bodies as living examples of the power of act. Okay, all right, whatever. Tyler Perry, not surprising, right? Stephanie Elam, she's on CNN or something. I don't know who she is. They mentioned Michelle Obama, and then there's your buddy Barack Obama. So, so what I really see here is it's not to say that I will say this, I got a lot of friends and family that chose to go that route. And I'm not here to clown them or make fun of them. I think that the best thing we can do is inform them, right? And encourage them to inform themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong when you talk about, you go back to Maj's theme of freedom. Freedom means you're free. Do what you want. But also remember that when people deliberately want to keep you ignorant, deliberately want to keep you away from information, then those people are not fans of your freedom. They do not support your freedom because you get your freedom from here. If I only know about option A and there's really option B, C, D, E, and F, how can I be free? I'm not free to explore the options. I'm only free to do what you're telling me to do within this confined box. And so, the other point that's interesting too, and Maj, I'd like to get your take on this, is that I don't think all this is obviously deliberate and intentional. Celebrities don't go to the doctor and get a certain medication and then just say, oh, hey, I'm going to go online and tell everybody what medication I took, right? This is planned. This is orchestrated. Somebody went to them and said, we will pay you money. We will give you a movie role, give you butter biscuits, or we'll just owe you a favor if you will go public and use your influence to influence others to do what you do. And the reality is they know that this works. Studies show that Black people are more influenced by celebrities than any group of people in America. And so it almost seems like when you talk about this group, because we're kind of preaching to the choir, right? The masses are not going to always understand this. But I think the best thing I would say to the people watching is, okay, you see what everybody else is doing. Do something different, right? The fact that you're here means you're already doing something different. Keep doing that. So Maj, what are your thoughts on that in terms of how we can sort of say, okay, look, this is what I'm going to do. That's what you're going to do. And I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm just going to inform you if you want to be informed. But that's it. Like, how do you draw that line, without becoming oppressive about it?
For one, I just always lead with freedom. You have the freedom to be as dumb as you want to be. And that's just the reality of it. It's like, I use myself as the example sometimes. I'm great at seeing a play, drawing up the play, finishing a play, but there's a lot of tedious things in between, like editing, like a documentary. Like editing is very tedious. That's not what my wheelhouse is, right? So I have the freedom to say, I don't want to learn editing, right? I'm going to put people together and maybe hire them or whatever that can edit that part. And my vision, I'm a point guard. I don't have to put my back to the basket and like back anybody down. I can see the whole floor. That's my skill set. Because I live that way, when the only thing I can say is, listen, if you choose to, because you were afraid, because they scared you into believing it, or you just already believe television, make a well-informed decision. And I'm very, very upfront with them in their choices. And then comparative analysis. This entire time over the last year, I've been traveling in our RV and on planes all across the entire country. Every single hotspot, so-called, that they said was, it's crazy in Miami. A couple of months ago, I was in Miami jet skiing. I went to CPAC and hung out. You know what I'm saying? Then I drove from Orlando. I rented a car and drove down to Miami and jet skied. When they said the hotspot was in Texas, I was in Texas. After Florida opened up months ago, we months in. This so-called spike that they're talking about is going to happen hasn't. So my point is I share that information and then I go, I'm out here having a great time, bro. I would love for you to come have some of this freedom with me. Do you want to take that mask off? Here's the information, that may not work for you the best. If you're tired of wearing that around me, if you're afraid to get on the elevator with me, I'm going to make it so comfortable for you to live and exist in your freedom. And it's a hassle. And because I'm not negatively judging you for it, when you take the vaccine and if you live, I'm going to go, cool. Now you shouldn't be asking me about a mask anymore because you're straight, right? Because it's supposed to work. And if it doesn't, you got to ask that question. So for me, the lack of judgment, I take the Planet Fitness approach to humans, which is you're in here because you know that you're not the healthiest. I'm not going to make fun of you because you made a step in the proper direction towards health. That's backwards. Planet Fitness is very, churches used to say this all of the time. They're very come as you are. Cool. You're dumb right now just because we haven't read the same books. That's not your fault. That's the state's fault. There is a onslaught in every area, to quote the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, in every area of human activity, the onslaught is on. Who am I? Because I've studied my way somewhat out of that. Who am I to pass judgment on that person for not knowing yet? Passing that information without a judgment, getting somebody in the gym that wants to try to work out. The only time that they can work out is 2:00 in the morning because they work 2 or 3 jobs. I'm going to help that person at the gym. That's the Planet Fitness approach. Now, I may not give you Tootsie Rolls like Planet Fitness do. I'm not going to give you donuts, but at the same time, we got to keep our minds like our people didn't get here like on the oops. It wasn't like hey, we just came out the womb goofy. There has been a concentrated approach by the state on all of the levels to make people this way. And so because of that, I'm just non-judgmental, and I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm gonna say, yo, if you take these things, like this is a cigar. I smoke cigars. This is death. Let's not mince words about it. This is death. 1,300 people a day in America die from nicotine. Millions upon millions. 50,000 people somewhere around there from secondhand smoke. You ain't even got to be smoking it to die. At the moment when I start pretending like this isn't death because I like it, is the moment that I start passing judgment on people. So I go, where you are stupid is when you're making those decisions without having any information about your choices. And there's enough people around that the information is there. You got these phones. You have access to the information. If you make a choice based in freedom, I don't judge you for it. But at the same time, when you have emphysema or lung cancer or any of that, don't ask me to pay for your situation. Handle your vices. Now, I'm presenting that information to people that way. Generally, people evaluate it differently. They don't feel judged. I am identifying the things that I participate in. I might try to balance that out with like ROI water or plenty of fruits and vegetables and all of that, but that doesn't change what this is. But at the same time, because I'm not judging this person for their choices and informing them, we have a much, at least for me individually, I build a much better rapport with people that way, because I'm not holier than thou in that regard, and nor am I going to sugarcoat it for them. And I think that creates room, because then later on they'll see it somewhere else, and they usually come back like, "Yo, Maj, you was saying something about this water. Like, what's up with the water? Oh yeah, here's a link. They saying they putting estrogen in the water now too, so you might want to try alternative sources." You feel what I'm saying? And so that's how I present freedom to people in that regard, without judgment, until you just being willfully dumb and pretending like you smart. Then I'm all day for me to make fun of you. Then, like, it is what it is.
Well, you know what's funny to me is Rizza, I'm gonna show you this image, right? And then I'll explain why I'm pulling this up. So I saw where TD Jakes and Tamala Mann were promoting government shots. Maybe just call it government shots and find another code word so the bots don't come get us right away. And I look at this picture, and here's what I see, right? I see two people that I'm sure are very smart people. I've never met either one of them, but I see two people where in order for you to truly be healthy, you're probably gonna need a little bit more than just a government shot, right? I see what I've seen in my family, what many of us have seen in our families. I see things like obesity, heart disease, strokes, diabetes, cancers, all the things that come from the fact that from a fundamental standpoint, if you're truly doing this from a Black Lives Matter standpoint, I use that word facetiously, knowing knowing the gravity of that of the organization, what that means. I'm not a part of that, but we all agree that with the idea that Black Lives Matter. It seems to me that if you really believe that Black life is important, and you're really pushing forward with something that will truly save Black life, you wouldn't just be focusing on a government shot. You would be going to a Tamala Mann, TD Jakes, and all the millions of people who, like many of us, grew up on the slave food, lived through the unhealthy habits, and you would have started with a more holistic approach to saying, let's talk about all the things that are killing Black folks, that were killing Black folks before the pandemic came along, right? Mm-hmm. Why is it so easy to trigger folks and get them talking about Black life and Black people dying in the pandemic? But if you've been saying this a year and a half ago, nobody was listening. Because I know you, Riz. I know you've been talking about a healthy lifestyle for years, and wasn't nobody listening to that. They weren't talking about, when you and the Minister of Health, Nathaniel Jordan, and others were talking about changing your diet. Maj is talking about drinking better water. We're talking about getting some exercise. Looking at all the things that are killing Black folks. Wasn't nobody listening to that. But now suddenly, all these people who never cared when we were talking about saving the lives of Black people, suddenly they're all up in arms like, we care about you, we want you to be safe. How could you say that, boy? You're so insensitive. You want Black people to die. And I'm like, no, because when we were talking about Lizzo a year and a half ago, you were celebrating obesity.
Yeah.
And making me the bad guy on this. So Rizza, please continue that statement because I don't want to keep talking too much, but you can see what this is triggering me right now. Go ahead, brother.
Right. To your point, the first thing is, one, it's easier to get a shot than it is to take a walk. Number one. Number two, it is easier to trust your enemy who has always killed you because you still believe the white man's ice is colder. You still believe the devil giving you something is going to be beneficial for you. Number three, to that point, the healthy lifestyle was and is the only actual solution. Case in point, according to the CDC themselves, 94% of those who died from the coronavirus circumstance died due to pre-existing conditions. And then the coronavirus hit them, meaning their diet, how they eat, how they drink, what are you putting into your body, the air, the lack of proper water. What are you putting in your body? That is what brought about the circumstance. And then when Corona touched it, it was a straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And only 6% of those who died from the coronavirus alone. That's according to the CDC. So literally how we eat, as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, food keeps you here, but food will take you away. Depending on how you eat, what you eat, where you eat, and who you are getting your food from. We trust this devil too much, brother, and we trust him so much that me or you or a black woman can stand in front of them, offer them multiple solutions, and say, these are things that have helped me. And not only just show you the solutions, but show you with our physicality. Be the living example. Because the other part is, as you just said, when it comes to Brother T.D. Jakes and Sister Tamala Mann, although we love their good works, all the good works they've done, sure, we have no problem with the good works. But when it comes to health, to be honest, I'm not going to consult with Brother T.D. Jakes. Yeah, I can't. And this generation, we are about the show me. Don't tell me, show me. If you're not living it your damn self, then how the hell can I trust and have good faith in the fact that it's going to work? Because you obviously are not a testament of what you're telling me to do. You are not a living example. I need to see it. The reason why we follow Mr. Farrakhan, the man looks like he's in his 60s, yet he is in his mid 80s. He is still retains his memory. He was lifting over 300 pounds on a bench press in his 60s and still running faster than his son, Brother Mustafa Farrakhan, in his 60s. Hold on, I can follow a man like that, especially when you're talking about health, aside from everything else. So we have to stop going with what people are saying. We have to stop trusting this enemy who absolutely does not have our better interest at hand. We have to look at the examples of the people around us who actually live the healthier lifestyle. How we eat is a major part that plays the factor in exactly how we live our existence within every inner city neighborhood. The reason why you have all these pre-existing conditions is because it comes from the same damn government who is now offering you the shot. You care about us, then why don't you remove the fluoride from the water? You care about us, then why don't you remove the cancer-causing agents from these so-called fast food restaurants or the lack of food restaurants? If you care about us, why don't you bring more of the organic farming back to the inner city neighborhoods? You care about us? Why don't you bring organic non-GMO grocery stores? If you care about us, why don't you remove all of the different cancer-causing chemicals in the air? Why are you still having black and brown people living next to power plants and different coal plants or different plants that produce chemicals? If you care about it so much, why are there still cities in America that the water is so toxic that is causing all these different debilitating neurological disorders? You care about it so much, but you literally are putting the chemicals, same pharmaceutical companies are putting the same chemicals in the air, in the water, in the food that create the pre-existing conditions that then the coronavirus exacerbates and kills us over. You don't give a damn about us, and they need to stop having black people to be put up who are standing on behalf of this system to try to give us a good faith, give us, love and say, this is what we want you to do. No, you ask your master what the hell is he really doing before you take that check. Because to be very honest with you, brother, this generation, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, is the most powerful generation that has ever been produced. We simply need guidance. This generation is the generation who is going to come at the elders and check them in a major way. I watch it right now. They're not listening just because you're an elder anymore. They're not listening just because you have a big church or you have a lot of money. They say, hold on, what are you doing? Right. Why are you bringing me that? Did you try it yourself? Because it don't look like you doing it. Matter of fact, okay, tell me how it works for you. And if you can't give us this information, if you can't validate this for us, then we're not taking it. Because now you look like you are leaning on the area of treason. And I'm just saying this so that people can understand Minister Farrakhan made it very clear to the elders years ago, and he said this almost every year to the elders. He said, some of you elders are going to have to die out in order for the younger generation to take over leadership, because you have misguided them and you are standing on behalf of our open enemy. These are the words of Minister Farrakhan. And I watch it happening all the time, which is why I do my best to call our people out. But it becomes very hard and very difficult to call them out in love and with love when what they're doing is so damn heinous and wicked, to where it's like, you need to listen before you get up here and take this check. You better be very mindful to ask yourself, is it worth your life? Right. For real. And I'm not just saying from what the enemy does. I'm saying from what your people will potentially do to you once they find out that what you did was you sold them out in a way where they could potentially come to harm, die, you harming their children because of something that you literally could have just did a Google search on, or you could have listened to certain people 5 minutes and found out, wait a minute, wow, I'm a part of this. I'm participating. I'm promoting this. So ignorance right now, as the police officers say, is no excuse for breaking the law. And as of right now, the law is loving and protecting your people, securing their freedom, justice, and equality. We can't use ignorance, bro, as an excuse anymore the way we were able to back then. Now we have access to all the information. Now we have to find something better to say, or don't say a damn thing at all.
That's in all honesty, that's where I jump in at. I just posted something about this, and that sparked something in my mind. It's with like a lot of these media dudes. I literally yesterday went off, because it's like I'm done operating with them in good faith. Y'all have much more empathy in that regard. I don't even view a lot of those dudes as our people anymore. And I know some people may disagree with that. Y'all collaborators with the Decepticons, in my view, and you're aware of it. You're aware of it. You even your diet ain't just what you put in your body, like what you eat is what you eat is what you eat. You know what I'm saying? And so like these dudes, they aware. They not like, oh, I ain't know, my bad. No, y'all know exactly. And I believe, honestly, a lot of times when they presented the information, they're like, look, we need you to do this. It might have a little bit of this, but you so cool with the check that you just run with it. Or you so cool with the status that you just run with it. You wasn't really fly or cool or accepted, or the ladies ain't love you on your own merit before you got in that position that you was alley-ooped into, alley-ooped by the ops. And so that's where I come in. I'm past the point of all they peddle all day. And I don't care if you wear HBCU clothing, if you still telling people line up for the vaccine, period. All day, all of the airwaves is death, murder, kill black people. If I made a song, y'all know, y'all see how quick y'all get snatched off a platform. If I made a song called, yeah, we killing the Jews. Yeah, we killing the Jews. Yeah, we killing the Jews. On Tuesday, you're gone. You're gone. And so that clear contradiction, these guys that say stop the violence, increase the peace, at the same time, black people need to be armed. At the same time, don't ever check your programming directors. Y'all are in alignment with it. And I'm past the point of thinking that these people actually are just like unassuming or unaware. I think they're very aware. And I think they actually benefit from it. They resemble a lot of times. I remember somebody told me politicians actually don't like you. Politicians are there. They look at you as a thing in the way of whatever their agenda is. So I don't think that a lot of these guys and women, these media personalities, and I'm more isolating it to that, them so-called leaders or so-called celebs, because they're not leaders. I really don't have no quarter for them no more. I don't really look at them as our people no more. I look at them as like, yo, you the ops, and maybe I'm too disillusioned. Maybe I'm cool with violence. I know that what a traitor can do to your team. And so to me, I'm okay with a certain level. Maybe some of these dudes got to get smacked in the mouth a couple of times. I just don't like that they're sharp enough. There's nothing worse than a coward with power. And they have power and they're cowards because they're not speaking out against it. Where is your number? You got the money. You got it. At what point do you cash out? Or you just keep leading our people a certain way? So my bad for jumping in there, y'all. But it's just like, I don't have no faith in none of these dudes on no platforms, especially, okay, Why don't they invite the people that know this stuff back? Y'all have both been on some of those platforms. Where's the re-invite? Especially right now. Forget me for a second. Especially right now, when all of this is going on. The crypto, stock market, people are out of jobs. Why, Dr. Boyce ain't back on there? We're dealing with, damn, Brother Islam has been talking about this. Let me tap him back in real quick because it's getting crazy out here. Why the re-invite ain't popped back through? Either you ain't as much as of a boss and you call the shots over there as you trying to portray, or you down with the opposition. So I don't have no faith in none of these people no more.
All right, everybody, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. I'm speaking with Rizza Islam and also Toure, and we're talking about all different issues in blackness. If you could take 1 second, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Also, there's some resources we gathered for you at the allblackagenda.com. So like these brothers are saying, you have to implement your own agenda. Don't implement a government agenda because, as he mentioned accurately, Maj mentioned that the government doesn't care about you. And I think Rizza agrees, and I think that we have to care about ourselves. So if you care about yourself, you ain't got to worry about who cares about you. I want to talk about one more issue, guys, before we bounce out. I'll start with you, Rizza, and then Maj. I'd love for you to finish up on this. So right now there's a lot of conversation about, what's going on in Minneapolis with the trial with Derek Chauvin. And I saw where Vicky Dillard had challenged, what's that lady's name? You know what I'm talking about, Tamika Mallory, on that Cadillac commercial she did, where she's doing, I guess I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever, right? She says you're doing these Cadillac commercials and whatnot, and you have the founder of Black Lives Matter that bought all the houses and everything, and so when Vicky came back and challenged him, which I agree with Vicky because I ride with Vicky till the death. Tamika came back and kind of tried to make a point to say that her activism has more merit because she's out in the streets it was a little bit problematic for me because I got this sense that Tamika felt like she's above Vicky. Like I think my son made a comment like, well, you'll never have access to people like Tamika if you talk about her like that. And I said, well, no, actually, Vicky shouldn't be asking for access to Tamika. Tamika should be asking for access to Vicky. Vicky has the credibility. Tamika is if white people abandoned Tamika, she'd have nothing. If white folks abandoned Vicky 20 years ago, and she's riding strong because the community backs her up. And I remember that it seemed like Tamika kind of made this point that if you're not out in the streets marching and protesting, that you're not really engaged in helping the community. You're not really doing real activism. I'll confess, I'm done marching. I'm done protesting and, holding hands, singing "We Shall Overcome" and doing all this other stuff. I think that there are better ways to move forward as a community. Can you give me your take on just all of that in terms of the environment that we're in right now and the best ways for us to respond? And you can even speak specifically on Vicky and Tamika and all that if you feel so inclined to do so.
Absolutely. The first thing I'll say is, number one, the system of white supremacy is on its deathbed, period. And because of that, as a dying animal, once they are in a position where they recognize they are dying, they are recognizing their mortality, that is when they are at their most volatile. So the system of white supremacy is doing all that it can to survive. It's pulling all of its plays, all the audibles, plan 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. They're trying to grab as many people from other communities to fight and kill one another. They're trying to create other fights for Black people and other enemies for Black people to take the attention off of them. The system of white supremacy, they're trying to get everything mixed up and confused, as they always do when they recognize that other people are starting to recognize the true source of what the hell is going on and who the true enemy is, which is this system. I'll say this, brother. I love Sister Vicky. I love my sister Tamika Mallory. I love my brother, my son. My problem is, to be very honest, as the youngest in this entire dynamic, I'm very tired of watching Black people go at each other's necks when your open enemy is literally killing you. I don't give a damn, to be very honest with you. As an activist in real life, on the ground with the people in real life, as well as one who pushes it on social media and pushes it through the ethers of this media realm, the credibility is to those who are effective, whether you do it this way or that way. I will say, when your boots on the ground, the people whose boots were on the ground before social media existed. So we cannot take away the credibility of being boots on the ground, because that laid the foundation that later translated, and I would say evolved in a sense, to the social media realm. But we cannot also take away the effectiveness of social media, not only with petitions, not only with bringing awareness, not only with raising money and funds, not only with creating the awareness of who is the enemy, get this person locked up, make this move, it's, rendezvous here, etc. So the media realm is also extremely vital and effective. But the problem is, we put on this clown circus show in front of our enemy too goddamn much. The reason why you don't see Brother Rizza Islam going at the necks of other black people, unless they represent the system of white supremacy, is because I'm not into that nonsense. That is a part of the divisive agenda of the system of white supremacy. The only time you will see me call out a black person or someone with black skin is if they work on behalf of the system of white supremacy. Other than that, I'm not coming at people who just want to talk about Rizza, or who want to talk about the nation, or want to talk about Minister Farrakhan, or want to talk about this, talk about. I don't give a damn. You know why? Because the system of white supremacy doesn't give a damn. They want you doing that. If she does a commercial here, or this person doesn't do a commercial there, that does not automatically mean a person has sold out. However, they need to be questioned about their affiliation. That I have no problem with. To see where you at. Let me just see where you are. That's all. Are you still down with the revolution for real? Or are you slowly selling out? And saying too, on that token, if you are on social media, and if I only see you talking about black people and not the system of white supremacy, are you selling out? Are you working with the ops? Because for some reason, you are only talking about black people, negatively, constantly. You don't find that you're not coming up with solutions. You're not coming up with ways to better our situation. What are you doing? I've dealt with both sides, brother. And I'm telling you right now, something that is I'm only 31. I just turned 31. So I'm in this generation, and I'm very fed up watching our people go back and forth. I love Sister Vicky. I also love Sister Tamika Mallory. I know them personally. The minister attaches us all. I follow Farrakhan. And the more I see us divide from one another, it irritates me to the damn core, because many of us ain't gonna make it. Many of us don't even have the damn wherewithal to communicate properly on social media, and we shouldn't really be saying a damn thing. Some of us, because we don't have the proper qualities of leadership. We don't love black people enough. We don't care about black people enough. We talk fast and we think slow, and we say things that we later on regret because we didn't think at least 5 times before we spoke and said what we said. The world is watching us. We are looking like some goddamn clowns going back and forth with people who have a level of credibility. Tamika got some credibility. Even Brother My Son got some credibility. Sister Vicky got credibility, and a lot of other people. Brother Toure, yourself, myself, and a whole host of others that we probably have never heard of before. But at this time, the system of white supremacy is dying. And that's what we need to pay attention to. It's time to form Voltron, since our brother brought up a cartoon reference. It's time to come together and unite as a people. We don't need to agree on everything, but we need to be on the same page, which is freedom, justice, equality for our people. Establish our own everything as everyone else does. The Jewish districts, Little China, Little Armenia, Little Cambodia. We have to get our own. Until we get that, we have no right to show in public our discourse or our division. Who the hell are we to sit here and show division when we don't have enough land? We don't have enough businesses. We don't have enough hospitals, schools, stores. Why are we talking against one another right now? None of us have established all of that, except for the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So until we get to that point, we shouldn't even be showing in front of this enemy on his network our division. I'm really sick of it, brother. I just want to make it very clear that I'm really done with that. But I love our people who do the work. If you don't do the work, I still love you, but I prefer you not say much. So if you do the work, focus on the work, focus on doing what needs to be done so that we can love each other and truly access freedom. Until then, we're going to look like a big ass group of clowns in front of this enemy, and he's going to laugh and say, y'all still my niggas.
Wow. Very, very powerful. I love that. I love that. So let me ask you this, Maj. I'll let you get the last word, man. In light of what Rizza said, and in light of what we're dealing with as far as activism, things like that, right now there's a lot of conversation about guns, something that you know a lot about. And I've seen you've been very vocal about, just sort of putting everything into context in terms of how the shootings are dealt with, whether you're talking about shootings of police against black people or just shootings in general, school shootings and all that. And you use a term where I think you say all gun control is racist. I think you have that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So tell me, why is gun control racist to you? And also, what are your thoughts about the current environment in terms of Black folks and how our views on guns should evolve based on what you understand?
It never. Our view as Black people with firearms ownership was always solid. Gun control was literally created to stop melanated beings from having the means to defend their lives. You know, at a certain point, there's this thing called constitutional carry, which means you can have a gun, you can carry it without a so-called permit or license from the state, right? There's now, I think, 18, maybe 20 states that are constitutional carry states. If you can lawfully purchase a firearm, you can conceal it or you can carry it open without any extra paperwork, which is a great thing. At some point, all of America was that. Black codes, slave laws, all of these different things were literally things that said Black people, except Black people, right? That is the root of all gun control in America, right? I always reference this book, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. She made a great point in that book about how, you know, the chain gangs and all of that other stuff, which morphed into the prison industrial complex. It may not be politically correct to say we want to lock the Black people up, but the outcomes are similar, right? It's still a modern, 13th Amendment. Everybody's seen that documentary, they get it, right? Just because we're not saying we don't want the Blacks to have guns openly, if the outcome is still who is impacted the most by unconstitutional legislation or laws, so-called laws, that are in violation of the actual framework of America. If the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is a list of things that were written down to say you have a human inalienable right to do these things. Government doesn't grant it. Government doesn't take it away. But then at the same time, you make the Second Amendment being the right to keep and bear arms necessary to a free state. Every person gets that. That's the second in the Bill of Human Rights. Then you make legislation that is a direct contradiction to that, specifically for Black people. Now you fast forward hundreds of years. It's fees. It's, you got to take this class. This state is a may issue state. Not a shall issue state, which means even if you never caught a case before in your life, we may give you one. We may license you or permit you to have this firearm on your person to defend your life. All of that is a subsidiary of the parent company of we don't want the Blacks to have firearms. That's not me making it up. That's not something that we put together just to sell T-shirts, even though we sell a lot of them. That is a fact. You got states like North Carolina, which literally changed their state constitution. It was all free men will have arms. Crossed out and said all free white men should have arms. That's not me making it up. Virginia, where the first gun control happened, when the Wounded Knee Massacre, the first federal gun grab, where they murdered indigenous peoples to this land because they was like, yo, you got to give us the guns. These are things that happened. Now, Black people have always historically had a positive rapport relationship with firearms ownership. Now, the media has been utilized skillfully to make it seem like when they do these polls, they say 90% of Americans agree that, you shouldn't have an AR. What's your sample poll? Like, where did that poll come from? Who did you ask? You mean to tell me you asked 90% of 300 million people if that census number is correct? So they play these little stat games in that regard, and then they package it and present it as if it's like, yeah, this is what it is. But Black people, whether we've had firearms so-called lawfully or unlawfully, we have fought in every war for this nation. We have defended this nation from every, invader, foreign or domestic. The Revolutionary War, Crispus Attucks that's the shot heard around the world for real. My point in that is we have always had a historic positive relationship with firearms ownership because we do not trust the government. I think the reason why the ramping up of you got to do this, they wouldn't have to spend marketing dollars to convince people to do a thing if they were already doing the thing. They're spending that money to do that, to take the shot for this, for that, because Black people generally do not trust government. We don't even open the door for the census like that. We ain't really on that type time, and that's smart, especially when you're factoring in what this government has sanctioned historically. So we've always had that positive relationship in that regard. And our work at Black Guns Matter over the last few years, we said we're going to make Black people the largest gun buying so-called lawful gun buying demographic. And that's what the case is. The reason why it's been mostly women is because a lot of these bills by everybody, China Joe, he was locking up a bunch of the Black men, so they now can't lawfully purchase firearms. because they're convicted felons for mostly non-violent offenses. That's been his whole claim to fame the 50 years he's been in office. We, in this government overreach in the form of a so-called pandemic, went to what we knew. Black people been buying guns like nobody's business. Americans been buying guns, and it's the truth. We do not rely on government in that regard. When it comes down to brass tacks, the bad guy is there, maybe government related, maybe not. I'm not waiting on them. And so we've always had that relationship. They've tried to skewer it using the media to make it look like that hasn't been our relationship. And touching on that last subject in regards to, the activists, because I really want to touch on this. I'm very critical. I can be very critical, and I'll say things. I want our people to course correct. I want our people to, this is death. I want somebody to check me on it and say, well, okay, you all on that water, but when you going to get ease up? I don't take that as a negative. I take that as, you give me the information because I might have been slipping a little bit, or I let my vices or my addictions get a certain way. I want our people to be able to pull up on me and pull my coattails or something. When I'm critical of these folks, I'm critical not because of you started as doing activism and I'm critical when there's a contradiction. Don't tell me about you got a Cadillac commercial. All right, we need this activism. I gave away $400,000 to keep these classes free. I did that. That's documented. That's where the money went. Now, that also doesn't mean our activists, I don't want our people dying penniless and broke. That poor righteous teacher game, that been over with. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan is not broke, and he ain't supposed to be, and nor has he told anybody to be broke. Let's be clear about that. That's the gas to trick people into you supposed to be broke all the time. Nah. But when you say you're an activist, so when you say you're pro-black, or when you say you think black people should be armed, whatever your lane, internet, outside, whatever, I need to see those works going into that direction, especially the resources. You talking about it and actualizing it can be two completely different things. So I think I've been very critical in that regard, because we don't need to keep we bringing attention to what? We know. Okay, talk about it. Now let's go execute. That's the area that I have to be a little bit more self-critical, because if I don't have a long format to explain my thought process behind me being critical of certain things, it could look like I'm just being mad at, such and such person. But I hold our people. We come from good soil. And man, we in the 11th round. Like Brother Islam said, the mortality rates. And again, I'm not knocking nobody. We just dealing with facts here. When you corner somebody that you don't give them a way out and they on their last leg, they going to do any and everything to kill you. So since we in this 11th round and recognizing that this war has been on for some time, I don't think we got time to really be playing around. And if you saying one thing and doing something else, or if I can't see your works, that whole they doing it on the low. Well, why are we highlighting the negative and championing that, but not highlighting equally? If I say I smoke a cigar, I'm gonna talk about this water. I'm gonna talk about that second gym session I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna talk about them books that I'm reading. I'm gonna talk about, these guns right here that I'm putting together. We're gonna talk about and giving our people these good things too. And I have to be very, very careful that messaging comes from a place of love and empathy, because our people could not exist. It ain't like cute time. I don't go to clubs. I don't celebrate holidays. For what? What $100 million have we put in the hood? Me personally, I haven't. So if you ain't the brother said, if we haven't gotten to that Garvey situation, he ain't even had an internet. So if we ain't doing that, I got a short fuse for a lot of the goofy shit at that point. And I have to be self-critical and making sure that, yes, they still are our people. I find it sometimes difficult because I know what we up against. You know what I'm saying? And so the brother's 100% right. We gotta, and I'm gonna lead by example in that regard. And if I've said something to anyone that has been very aggressive, it's genuinely from a place of where we at in this game. And they sending a lot of people You was already here on the totem pole, and if you thought the whole voting thing was the thing, they're already showing you where their next voting block coming from. So it's like, I really want us to get it together. But if I said something that was aggressive to anyone, I genuinely believe, unless I just don't fuck with you. If I don't fuck with you, I don't have no problem telling you I don't fuck with you. I don't like you. But generally, if I said it out of a place of, I did say it out of a place of, we in the 11th round, we got to get our shit together. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, that's the theme of today. Everybody, let's get our shit together.
No, the brother was going to say something. What you was going to say?
Brother Boyce, can I say just real quick one thing?
Please.
I'll just Brother Tamaj's point, and to your point, Brother Dr. Boyce, and to all of our points, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said that a wise man respects his critics. And another thing is, wise people respect criticism and hold themselves accountable if it's true. So if anything is true that any of us are doing, we got to be held accountable. And it takes us, those of us among our people with integrity, to pull brothers to the side, pull sisters to the side, call them. Yo, you was wrong for that. What you doing? What's that about? I think you might want to clear that up. I mean, this is how we have to do. This is how a loving group or a tough love group of people operate. The Chinese don't allow their people to just jump up and misrepresent them. The Jewish people do not allow their people to just jump up and misrepresent them. The Italians, you can name it. You're not going to just get up here and just do anything and think you represent us. You see what I'm saying? That's how we have to operate as a people. We're too individualistic. I can do this. I'm a brother doing this. I can do. Okay, that's cool if it represents us to the best of our ability. I mean, you're free to do your thing, but don't get up here as if you represent us in doing something that does not best represent us. Just say that you're doing that. Because the moment
that's your thing.
That's your thing. But the moment you get up there as if what you're doing represents us, and this goes for anybody in our community, that is the part where now you are causing what's called a nuisance on our post. This is our position right here. This is get on code. You're becoming a nuisance now. So now I got to pull your coattail and say, sister, brother, hey, you tripping right there. All right. I think you might want to clear that up. I'm just your brother. I'm just letting you. I called you personally. I picked up the phone. I got in touch with you. You know, take it how you want. You know, this is my olive branch, my love. I'm extending to you. All right. So if you get out there and the people start coming at your throat, I'm your brother. I'll reach out to you. You get what I'm saying? And we have to have enough humility to accept that. That's another thing. This ego tripping, bro. This damn thing right here. This social media, bro, has made some people some pregnant, egotistical people. And I mean, really, most people who don't even have the credit, don't even have the record to be like that. And even if you did, you still shouldn't be that way. At this time, as the brother said, we're in the 11th round, the 11th hour. It's really overtime. And the system of white supremacy is on their job. They blitzing right now. And at this time, we need to come together all the way. Football reference, basketball reference. We need to come together all the way and attack when it comes to establishing our freedom, justice, and equality. That's just it. That's really where I am with it. But we have to accept criticism, take accountability, and take into consideration the things that we need to do for ourselves and our people. That's really all I gotta say.
Well, I love it. Okay, so they blitzing, full court pressing, prevent defenses, all of that, whatever it takes. So I love it. And I'm gonna tell you, man, when Maurice told me that both of you guys were coming in and tearing put this together, tearing down the 10, I said, these guys are giants in my mind. I think you guys are amazing. And I said, I almost feel like we should have them on one at a time because each of you has so many great things to say. And when I tell everybody that, this is part of your leadership, and it should be leadership by committee. It shouldn't be one person doing everything, being everything. And everything you said, Rizza, about, the minister, who I just love to death, love to life. When you talk about that part about respecting your critics, I learned that from watching him. You talked about you being part of the show me generation. Well, he showed me what it looks like to handle criticism. And that was one of the questions I had asked him when he and I were talking for a really long time about a lot of different things. And I said, how do you deal with people that just nasty, hateful, just terrible people, just lying on you? And he said, your critics might be right, and you should listen to your critics. And I saw him do that actually when Yvette Carnell did that crazy hit piece, where she kind of went at him in a very disrespectful way. And and I remember I went to his house, and because we lived around the corner from each other. It was funny. Obama lived 2 blocks over, and the minister a couple blocks that way. I never want to go to Obama's house. I love going to I never cared about seeing Obama. Was not important to me. Just because white people vote for you, that doesn't make you relevant in my view. You have to have that record. Again, the show me generation. Maybe y'all might not be the first show me generation, right? Because I'm the same way. I agree with that 100%. And I went over and talked to him about the whole thing with Yvette, and I was really impressed by the way he managed that in terms of saying, not only did he say that it's okay, he said encourage her to keep speaking. And I said, what? And I'm observing. I'm looking for any little double speak, anything, any subtle, like I'm saying it, but I ain't really saying it. No, that's what he really meant. And I think we can all learn from that. And I encourage everybody in the community to understand that there's a reason why these brothers present themselves in the way that they do. They present themselves as men, as honorable, intelligent, decent human beings, quality thinkers, etc. It's because they were trained to be that way. We were all trained. I was trained by a man, my father, who taught me things that that I never would have learned if I just had my mother. And so all of you that are listening, find the people that can train you and make sure that you are the proper trainer for the people that come behind you, because that's what we need. We need an army. We don't need one superstar, one super Negro that's on TV claiming to represent the Black community. That leadership method is dead. So everybody, please give a digital thank you to these two brilliant Black men that came onto the platform today. Please follow them and support their work. And I just want y'all to know I'm gonna have to go back and figure out how we're gonna keep this video from getting banned. And I'm in my head. I'm like, oh shit, man, I'm all for the freedom of speech thing, but it's like, God, man, like they really are policing. What we're saying, and it's crazy. You made a great point, Rizza, when you were saying, or I know. So I think Maj, you made the point, but Rizza, you had also made a similar point where you said that I can make a song all day about killing Black people. But if you go and say something that is actually going to save the lives of Black people, then related to whether it's a vaccine or anything else, they'll take you off the air. Mm-hmm. And they do it because they claim to be protecting the lives of people. But if you really cared about Black life, then why would you mass promote music that promotes Black genocide? We're talking about Apple, Spotify, all these networks are compliant in this, right? So anyway, you guys are giving us a ton to think about. Please thank these brothers. Thank them digitally. Type thank you in the chat. Also, everybody hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, subscribe button, and follow these guys. Follow these brothers. They're on Instagram. And now mind you, let me ask you this, Rizza. Did they give you back the social media? What's the status of that?
I was going to say that. Yeah, no, my main page is that's gone. Over 500,000, over 500,000 followers. That's gone. My backup page, which is Message to the Millennials, my book page. That page they took down yesterday. So all I have now on Instagram is my Not Another Tuskegee Experiment page.
Wow.
Okay, so that's what I have on there. My Facebook gone, YouTube gone, Twitter frozen. I'm banned from Clubhouse, banned from TikTok. So right now all I have, I'm on Fanbase app and I'm on Melanated People app. Those are the two alternatives, and those are the Black-owned apps.
Okay, that's real deep. I mean that's a cartel that's operating against you. I mean, that's a coordinated strategy, and that's supposed to, according to antitrust law, that's supposed to be illegal in America. Yes. But it's not illegal because the technocrats have become the new government, and they are gangsters. If they are the thought police, and I'm amazed that no one's done anything about it, but they probably can't because the criminals are controlling the police station. They've already bought your power.
Now we're in the middle of countering that. The disinformation does. I'm one of those 12, and everyone should Google disinformation does, and you'll see. And as a part of those, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is one of those. Dr. Sherry Timpney, Dr. Mercola. I mean, you have some Dr. Rashid Battar. You have some very credible people on this list. And so we actually right now are countering that as what you just said when it comes to the different laws of freedom of speech, because it is illegal. It is. So it's and it's happening to a level where now the people are pushing back in a major way. So yes, sir. So disinformation does. Make sure you Google that and you'll be able to get all the information as to what's really going on.
Okay, well hit me up when if you're filing lawsuits or anything. I did hear about some Black YouTubers that were actually suing for racism in terms of how they moderate the content. So whatever lawsuit you're involved in, anything like that, let me know. I will personally financially support whatever is going on. You know what I mean? So count me in. I got your back. Because remember, if they take down this brother, they coming after everybody. They come
That's
out
a fact.
yeah. So it's time to draw the line in the sand. So I'll keep everybody posted. And thank you guys for coming in. God bless both of you. And Maj, you've mentioned something you're doing in Philly where you got a facility now. Can you tell us about that real quick? Because I forgot to mention.
We opened the store. It's going to be a self-improvement center, the solutionary center. It's going to be in Philly in the next month and a half to 2 months. If you're in Philly, all of the classes there will be free. All of that is based on you guys' donations. GoFundMe.com/Black Guns Matter. Shouts to my guy, Maurice Duncan, for plugging this. This has been epic. Sometimes you don't know the history that you're in when you're in it. But I think even discussions like this are a part of that history. So shouts to him for that. But it'll be a spot in Philly, our flagship location. All of the classes, every single class will be available for free, whether that's finance, I'm tapping all of y'all to come teach all of the stuff that y'all are experts in. It's not just going to be gun related. Obviously, we will do Black Guns Matter stuff there, but all of that's based on everybody's donations. We're trying to buy the building outright. We about a little under $600,000 left for giving away the money as well as buying the building outright. GoFundMe.com/Black Guns Matter. Outside of that, make sure that you are subscribing to this channel. Make sure that you are following a brother. I just followed him on social media, and that is Not Another Tuskegee Experiment. Okay, make sure y'all following that. Make sure y'all going over to Dr. Boyce's pages. Make sure you going to the Black Financial channel. Make sure you following, everything that's Black, and that Black, all of my white followers, because I got a bunch of Second Amendment white followers that's like, no reason for you to be scared. Like, we ain't coming to get you. If we was gonna kill you, you'd have been done. That's just what it is. So at the end of the day, and that's a joke, y'all, YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Just making sure that people, you can't say pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and then when people start to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, now you want to call racism. blackmenunited.net. Make sure y'all following all of these platforms, and just let's balance it out a bit. Let's make sure we supporting the communities that we live in. That's it.
That's right.
All right. Well, there you have it. And blackmenunited.net. I want to make sure you guys know about that. Andre Hatchett and I put that together. Basically, we operate on specific principles of Black manhood. And it is a great place to go if you want to unify and connect with brothers that think like yourself. So it's Black men only, blackmenunited.net. So this is a place where we get together as men and figure out who we're going to be. And so speaking of great Black men, I want to say thank you to Maj Toure. Thank you to Rizza Islam. Thank you, all of you who are watching. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And we are gone. Have a good day, everybody. We love you. See you soon.